Hey there, my friend. Smart of you to tune in today. It's Coach Grant Eilertson here, and in this video, we're going to be breaking down the entire sales process, end to end, that has been responsible for doubling the average close rate across a variety of different industries. Now, this is the first time I've ever publicly shared a private client training like this that goes fully end to end. So you're likely going to want to pull out some sort of notepad and likely also watch this video a couple times, because if you do and you actually apply what's taught here, you're going to make a lot more money. So let's get into it.
I tend to assume that you're here because you know it's going to be valuable. So I usually forget to quantify what I'm going to teach, and I just dive right on it. But I'm not going to do that today. Let me just share a quick screenshot that I got from one of my private clients a couple days ago. This is what it looks like to use the sales process that I'm about to teach you today. He was at about 137,000 on the month collected. He actually texted me this morning that he finished at 160 for the month. Every other number here is one of the other reps on the team. So he is consistently outperforming them by about triple. Now, that's not normal. My average private clients and sales teams outperform the industry average by only about double. But if that sounds cool to you, to only outperform your competition by double, then you're going to like what we have to go through today. So all I ask is that you keep yourself on mute, drop questions in the chat, and show up with the student hat on today, because we're going to rock through things very quickly. So a little overview here of the shut up and take my money sales call process. Now, a system is going to create exponentially greater outcome when all pieces work synergistically than the sum of each piece on their own. And so while you might have a fundamental understanding of some or even all of the pieces that I'm going to show you today, understanding how they all fit together is why the people that I work with are able to put up numbers like I just showed you, right? With the same leads, the same processes and everything, because they understand how the pieces work together. So that said, today I ask that you just wipe the slate clean and put on your student hat so that you can look at this system from an aerial view with fresh eyes, because you might pick up something that could be the one thing that makes all the difference. So you will all have access to this document after the fact. The reason for that is because it's going to be really helpful with formulating your sales process, and because I actually have a lot of video resources that are associated, which will help me to zoom through the big picture and show you how they all fit together quickly. And then you can dive deeper into any of the pieces that don't make quite as much sense with the video resources. So if you ever see blue or you see a YouTube link, you have access to the content, you can dive right on in. So you'll get this after the call. No worries there. So don't try and write down everything that I have written. Just take notes or ask questions about things where you feel, hey, I didn't quite fully get this. How did you mean by that? So as with always, we got to start with, how are we thinking about what we're doing? So the mindset component. Number one, and this is the most important one, is that people love to buy, but we hate the feeling of being sold to. Okay, I'm going to repeat that because this is the core fundamental that serves the foundation of everything that I do as it relates to sales. I'm not looking at being a better salesperson. I'm looking at creating a more compelling buying experience, because again, people love to buy, but they hate the feeling of being sold to. Two, people don't want to be handled. They want to feel understood. So don't look at how do I handle objections better. Look at how do I create a feeling that I understand them and we can still get them what they want. As you show up to calls, remember, ask yourself, am I doing this to be liked or to make a difference? Because people that show up to be liked are not going to necessarily be making a difference in their prospects' lives when limiting beliefs, challenges, concerns come up. If you just put on a pretty face and try and create a friend rather than serve them powerfully to become a client, then you're going to lose sales and lose the opportunity to impact the lives that you want. Show up to make a difference, not to be liked. Number 4, not great with numbers. It's the mindset, or it's the frame of, I think I could help you, but I'm not sure. Can I ask you a few more questions to be sure? Next, you don't have to be the quote unquote expert, the guru on top of the mountaintop. You just need to be able to solve problems. That's it. And lastly, you if you want to think about things visually, are a strong bridge. You are unwavering. You're not moving around. You can get somebody else from one side of the chasm to the other for a simple toll. That's all that you are. You're a bridge from where they are in Hell Island to paradise. All it is a simple toll to cross the bridge. All right. With that said, now let's look at the process itself. So you can see over on the left, we've got a few different stages of the sales call. So each of these could be considered its own independent piece, and they fit together in this specific order for a reason. First off, when we start a call, our job is to open, create a hook, and a little bit of rapport. Now, one of the big misconceptions here is people will waste a whole bunch of time creating small talk at the beginning of a sales call. But I don't want you to do that, because ultimately this part should not last more than a couple minutes tops, because contrary to popular belief, people do not necessarily buy from people that they like. They buy from people who they feel understand them and that can solve their problem. And more time wasted with high status and high value prospects actually degrades their perception of your authority and time value. If they feel that you don't respect your own time, and that it's totally cool to just waste time bantering, right, about small talk, then they will not perceive you to be someone that will respect their time, that if they feel is inherently valuable, will rub them the wrong way. So again, big misconception. People don't necessarily buy from people that they like unless everything is 100% the same. They buy from people that feel they understand them and that can solve their problem. So there's a video attached that will support you with ways to create rapport, because it is still important in a sales process, but that will keep you out of the weeds. And as Jordan Belfort says, off of spiraling off to Pluto. Okay. Now we move on to pre-framing. So once we have established just a small bit of common ground, again, a couple minutes tops, we're going to pre-frame the conversation. So before launching into invasive questions, it's vital that you properly pre-frame a call. Now, the purpose of this is to establish an authority frame, a feeling of collaboration rather than investigation, and honesty and transparency. Now, this is vital, right? This one here in particular, because if we just launch straight into invasive questions, then it feels to the prospect like they're being investigated. And what do you do when you're being investigated? You shut up and you hold your cards close to the chest. However, if you feel that you are in a collaborative conversation leading towards getting you what you want, you'll be much more transparent and honest. And you must uncover specifically what's going on with them and what they ultimately want, not the cocktail answers, but what's really going on, in order to be able to position your offer as irresistible. Again, a shut up and take my money kind of offer. So as one brief example, properly pre-framing a call can look like, okay, Franco, well, I've got about 45 minutes set aside for you here, and I'm fully prepared to discuss with you some ways that you could possibly eliminate this lead issue and ultimately double your business in 2022. But first, I hope you wouldn't mind just giving me some insights into your situation and ultimately what you're looking to achieve so that I can give you proper guidance. It can be as simple as that. For other examples, and a bit deeper look at pre-framing, there is a video attached here. But again, the whole purpose is to establish a time frame, so we have intrinsic urgency in the communication that we don't necessarily have to enforce as much with external pressure, and a feeling of collaboration, so that we are voicing to them, fully prepared to talk with you about ways that you can get what you want. But first, I hope you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit more about what you want and what's kept you from getting there. Right? Once we've done that effectively, we'll be positioned to actually do our intel gathering stage properly. A lot of people will miss out on a sale right here because they just launch into investigative questions and the prospect is shut down and closed off, and we never actually uncover what's really going on. However, if that's done right, we can then move into the intel gathering stage. Now, one thing that's really important to note is that the sale itself is not made in the close. The close is the close, the sale is the sale. Okay. The sale is made when your prospect hears themselves say the answers to the following 7 questions. Okay. Because if I say it, you doubt it. And if you say it, you own it. This one's a writer downer. If I say it, you doubt it. And if you say it, you own it. So that said, you do not necessarily need to ask each of these questions. You need to hear them say the answers. More importantly, and how I should have written it is they need to hear themselves say the answers to these questions. So in the context of a fluid conversation, if you're paying attention, most of these are going to be answered without you explicitly asking the question. And in your case, or in that case, your job is simply to mirror or label and anchor down these pain points, right? So if someone just happens to be talking about, funny enough, I actually just went through another coaching program, and it was all about ads and stuff. And it was really challenging because they had all these videos and walkthroughs and stuff, but I tried to follow along and I just got lost, and I wasn't really able to do anything. No, you got lost. Yeah, it was just so much to try and manage. I wasn't able to get anything done, and it didn't pan out well. Wow, sounds like a frustrating experience. Yeah, it was really frustrating, right? So I didn't ask what hurts. They told me, and I'm anchoring it down with mirroring and labeling because they're hearing themselves say and they're anchoring it down. Now there's a video, of course, for every section here that's going to go deeper into how to get your guarded, closed off prospects to open up with tools like mirroring and labeling and no-base questions, for example, so you can get down to the root of questions that they are not forthright in their communication about answering. However, in the perfect context, all these things are coming up and you're just patching the holes by going back and asking questions that don't get answered in the initial intel gathering stage. Now, those questions are actually what cause or what you could consider the root of the most common objections that come up. So if we have them hearing themselves say the reason why that would not be an objection, then we are in a position for them to feel compelled to buy. So those questions are, what hurts? So what's the pain point? What do you really want? So what's the reason why you actually want what you say you want? What's the cost if nothing changes? This is intrinsically an urgency question, right? So instead of having to pull out the strings of, for fast action takers, we have a discount. What's the cost if nothing changes? If things were to continue down the same pathway, 6 months from now, do you honestly see things being better or worse? Right? To create an intrinsic sense of urgency. The why questions. Why now? Also anchoring down intrinsic urgency. Why me? And why is this important to you? And this why me is awesome because instead of talking about how great you are at everything that you do, let them tell you what they think. Because again, if I say it, you doubt it. But if you say it, you own it. Well, why do you think I might be the right person to help you solve this? Now, understand that these are formulated as what and why questions for a specific reason. Why will always cause your counterpart to argue in favor of what the question is about. Meaning, if I said, well, why can't you do this today? They're going to dig their heels in and you are not going to overcome that. Well, because I have this, that, and the other coming up, and they build a case for it. But if I instead, so that's a situation where you don't use why. Situation where you do is something like this. Well, why do you feel like this would be the right fit for you though? So that they argue for moving forward. So that's a little side note there. We can come back to it if there's additional clarity needed. But then the sometimes why question is the instilling doubt component, because we have to have them feeling and hearing themselves say that this is not something I feel I can solve on my own. Otherwise you get, hey, let me, try this out for a month and I'll come back to you, which they never do. So that's what has kept you from being able to solve this problem on your own, or why do you feel you haven't been able to fix this on your own? Either way works the same, but we just need to make sure that each of these questions get answered, either in the context of fluid conversation where you're then mirroring and labeling to anchor down these points, or if it's missed, totally cool. Now you have a checklist where you say, okay, these two things were not covered. Hey, a couple more questions just for clarity so I can stay organized on my end. I can appreciate that this is so important to you for these reasons, but why now? Why not just wait? Right. So it gives us the ability to have bumpers. If you have bumpers when you're bowling, you will always hit pins. So think about these in your intel gathering stage as your bumpers. If you miss a pin, totally cool. Throw the ball back down because you got bumpers, you're going to hit something. Now, once we have effectively done our intel gathering stage, and we are clear on what they want, what the cost is, if nothing changes, yada, yada, all the 7 questions. Now we move into what I call the transfer of trust and the transition. And this is actually, if I were to pick out two spots where people just completely miss things that are vital in the sales process, this is number one right here, the transfer of trust and the transition. If you miss this, even if you did a great job with intel gathering and your presentation you feel is fire, then you'll have people still mysteriously not saying yes. And no longer will you have to wonder why, because we're going to dive into it. So the transfer of trust is where you put a bookend on the intel gathering stage of the sales call. And now pay attention to this. The vital outcome of this piece is for the prospect to hear themselves say, nope, I think we covered everything I need. Nope, think we covered it. No, I think that's it. Nope, I think we covered everything I need. That right there is the key outcome of this part. Because remember, if I say it, you doubt it. If you say it, you own it. I want that burned into your brain by the end of this. And before making a prescription, your prospect must feel adequately diagnosed. So you'll say something along the lines of, so let me just make sure I've got everything right here, or just so I can stay organized on my end. It sounds like you're looking to attain desired outcome, but obstacles have been in the way. And these are input the blank, right? These are fill in the blank pieces where it's bold. So hopefully that's clear. The obstacles have been in the way, and you've tried failed solutions, and that really hasn't panned out. So you're looking for a better way. Now, is there anything that you think we've missed that I might need to know in order to give you proper guidance? This right here is key. One or two things is going to happen when you ask this. By the way, this is the most important part, but consider this just a recap. So you're going to recap and then ask, did we miss anything? Or do I have that all right? So they're either going to say, oh, forgot about this. You know, I did this program, yada, yada, yada. It didn't work. I hated it. I would never do anything else like that again. Great. That's really important intel. So you don't frame your pitch in the same way. Or they'll say what we're looking for. Nope. I think we covered it. Oops, sorry. Nope. Think we covered everything I need. So this is, again, the transfer of trust, where they are then saying, I feel adequately diagnosed, right? Do you feel like I have a clear picture of everything that's going on here? Yeah, I think we covered everything that I need. Now we can bridge into the presentation. And so in order for the prospect to accept the prescription, we need it to feel like it's their choice to hear what you're suggesting. So we never want to pitch slap somebody. No pitch slapping. Instead, allow them to ask you to share your offer, thus reducing sales resistance and maintaining your authoritative frame. So what oftentimes happens is someone will be like, okay, I've got a pretty clear picture of what's going on here, so I'll walk you through how we can help. First off, we'll do this, then we'll do this, then we'll do this. I would consider that pitch slapping. Instead, what we want to happen is for them to ask us to share what's going on. Because when they do, sorry, I've got a frog in my throat today. That's like perfect timing. When they ask us to share our offer, they're asking, please pitch me. And they'll be much more receptive to it. So after they've said, no, I think we covered everything that I need, you'll say, all right, well, in that case, it sounds like what we're doing here would definitely work for you, right? This is actually where we shift in our tonality from the first half of the sales call to the second half. In the first half, our tonality, our frame, our way of being, our energy is that, well, you know, I might be able to help you, but do you mind if I ask you a couple more questions just to be sure? It's that slightly skeptical, curious tone. Well, how do you mean by that? Really? Where else is that showing up for you? Now, can you tell me a little bit more about this? Two, once we move into the transition, this right here is a pivotal point. The transition is what separates first half in that tone from the second half, where we move to conviction. Got it. Based on everything you shared with me, it sounds like what we're doing here will really help you out. With your permission, I'd be happy to walk you through step by step what we do with our most successful clients, but you just let me know, where do you want to go from here? We're moving into this. You can think about it like Papa Bear energy, if that helps, right? We are clear, certain. Because we know we can help them, we're going to take that stance. And the tonality in which we communicate actually changes the meaning of the words in a huge way. So at the start, when we are, tell me more. How do you mean by that? We're prompting them to open up and share. It's a question tonality. But at the back end, when we're telling them what to do, we want them to feel certain that this is the right thing. And our certainty will bridge to them through our tonality. Give me one shot. And believe me, the only problem you're going to have is that we didn't get started 6 months sooner. Sound fair enough? So again, 2 stages of the call. This is your transition. So after they've said, nope, I think we covered it, you're going to say, okay, well, in that case, sounds like what we're doing here would definitely work for you. And if you'd like, I could walk you A through Z through how we could eliminate pain and achieve desired outcomes so that you can ultimately achieve purpose. But you just let me know. Key part right here, but you just let me know, where do you want to go from here? If you do this right every single time, they're going to say, well, yeah, can you tell me about it? Say, sure, happy to. Now it's their choice. And I promise this makes a massive difference in how your presentation's received. So hopefully that is clear. Now we're going to move into the presentation. So at this point in the sales conversation, you've completed an effective transition and transfer of trust. So it's time to make your presentation. And you want to think about this as if you are prescribing just one simple solution, that one miracle pill after a result of careful diagnosis. And remember, can't stress this enough, the majority of, I need to think about it, right? The majority of think about it objections are created by you, overcomplicating your presentation. That might not be fun to hear because you look back on the calls and you're like, whoa, shit, did I really do all that? I can't be responsible for it. I ask that you put the student hat on and just recognize that majority of think about it objections are created by you overcomplicating your presentation. Totally cool, because from this day forward, you're going to be equipped with the 3-step perfect presentation process. Love the name, right? That will make it effortless for you to craft a presentation that always feels like a perfect fit, even if you're selling the same offer to multiple people. Okay. This is literally what I've done with every offer that I've ever done that has a massive list of deliverables, to always make it feel to the prospect like it's a perfect custom fit for them, even though the offer itself doesn't change. It's going to make it simple and digestible so that, again, people feel like your offer is made just for them and there's nothing to think about. So the presentation framework is as follows. 3 steps. It's basically the same way each time. Because you said problem, what we're going to do is solution. And for you, that means benefit. Tie down. I know this seems super simple. It is. Don't overthink your way out of success. I promise this works, and it works scary good. Now, pay attention. The reason that pain, problem, and benefit are all caps and solution is very tiny is because that's actually how we want to think about our focus on each of the components. We want to make the pain problem feel big, the solution dead simple, and the benefits massive, and then tie that down. Okay. There's going to be examples. So now the chances are, obviously, just like with all the things that I sold as an independent sales rep, your product or your solution probably has more than 3 main deliverables, but you're only going to pick 3 to talk about at this point based on their main challenges and what they want that you've uncovered through the call process. And this is going to accomplish 2 things. It keeps your presentation super simple so that you do not create think about it. And it leaves ammo in the clip, to be used to answer concerns as they come up before the pitch, which is the discussion of the financial commitment. You don't want to show all your cards at first. Can't tell you how many times I've closed sales with people where they get into the program and they're like, holy shit, I didn't even realize this was something that I get too. It feels like a bonus to them because they don't need this massive rap sheet of reasons to buy. They just need a compelling, easy, okay, that makes sense to me. I like it. Let's go. The rest can be bonuses. Don't think that you have to over communicate your shiny shit because that's not what people are buying. They're just buying the problem going away. Now, when I say tie downs are basically anchoring this person into what they said. So it can be, make sense? Do you agree? Can you see how this might help you? Are you still with me? Now, you must tie down each of your solution points to get buy-in to each component of the offer and to mitigate objections here if you need to clarify before introducing the complication of financial commitment. Financial commitment is a complication. Tie down the process independent of logistics first. We'll get to that in a second. Here's an example of using this presentation process for a fitness offer, just because I lived in that space for quite a while. Now, again, like I said, pain problem, big, solution, small, benefit, big, tie down. That's why you'll see, and I color coded it so you can see, big pain problem, small solution, big benefit, right? This is how it looks visually. And because I'm a visual guy, I find that it helps me to think about things. So here's how it would look. And let me just go over the deliverables real quick that I chose out here. Nutrition plan, workout app, Facebook group. Okay, this is how I'm going to communicate nutrition plan, workout app, and Facebook group. If I say, hey, this is going to be a perfect fit for you. You're going to get a custom nutrition plan. You're going to get a Facebook group, and you're going to get a workout app. It's not all that compelling, but here's how to make it sound great. Now, Franco, because you've said you've been on a dieting hamster wheel for years now, and even when you find something that seems to work in the short term, the results have never been sustainable. And it's not long before you find yourself back at the same weight or even heavier. What we're going to do is craft a fully custom, flexible nutrition protocol for you, which is actually going to allow you to sustainably lose weight week over week without ever getting stuck at a plateau, without missing out on family dinner nights, because no diet that forces you to cut out your favorite foods is ever going to work long term. And what we're creating here together is a permanent transformation. How does that sound to you? Well, that sounds pretty good.
That sounds damn good, bro.
Oh, cool. I can actually talk to you. Awesome.
Yeah, bro.
Sweet. And I know that you also mentioned that piecing together random fitness influencer workouts from Instagram or trying to figure out what to do in the gym on your own has been really frustrating, and oftentimes just leads to you falling off the wagon, right? So instead, dude, when you go to the gym with this process, all you're going to need to do is open up the app on your phone where all the programming of your custom tailored workouts will be laid out for you. And you just simply follow the step-by-step laid out for you. That way, not only are you going to shorten your time in the gym by a ton, like for example, my average clients are able to lose about 20 pounds over the course of 3 months while working out for only 45 minutes a day, 3 times a week. That's it. But it's also going to ensure that what you're doing is actually right for your body and your goals, which means we're going to prevent injuries and ensure that you get great results week after week. Can you see how much easier it's going to be when you just have like a simple proven process laid out and literally your only job is to show up a couple times a week and follow the steps?
Bro, this is so good. This is so good.
Cool. Sounds like that might be something that could potentially work for you.
For sure, bro.
Cool. Now, lastly, I can appreciate how frustrating it's been for you to be on this journey alone. And frankly, dude, I don't blame you for falling off track. It's really hard to stay accountable to putting in the work when there's nobody making changes like this around you. So as part of this process, you'll have a private community of driven dudes just like you, business owners themselves who are going through their own transformations alongside of you, so that you can not only learn from what I teach you, but from what everybody else in the program is applying what I teach in their own way. And frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if just being a part of the community itself like that ends up being the most helpful part of this process, because not only will we all be there to give you a kick in the butt when you aren't feeling motivated, we'll be there to celebrate your victories with you every step of the way too. How would it feel to finally have support, as you make this the last time you ever need a process like this?
This is so good, dude. Can I just say something real quick, guys?
Go for it.
It just goes to show you the power of the hyper potent sales messaging, right? Like what he did here for whoever is on the other side of the line It's literally just saying back to them the things that they're saying to you and saying the problems, because every single person just wants the solution to their problems. I remember I was walking through Walmart one time and I was talking to my wife and I was just like, babe, I just wish I could find a coach that just did this. And I just told her, boom, 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 boom. Now, if somebody came across and just said, hey, I'm a coach and I do this, 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 and this, and this, it's an instant buy. So what he's doing is literally packaging up everything that I want in like 3 paragraphs. It's crazy.
Bingo. And the key here is that this is not created ahead of time. It's a fill in the blank, because as you come across the pain and the problem and what the benefit is, your only job is making your solution seem super simple and using it to bridge these two things as you freaking parrot them back to them. It's no thinking. It's taking what they say and just putting it into a framework. It feels almost too good to be true. But it works. That's why I love it.
Yes.
So now, once we've done our presentation effectively, we're going to recap. And basically what this looks like is we are going to ask this specific question to draw out any lingering concerns or objections or questions before moving into the financial commitment. Because again, that complicates things. So what we're going to ask is, now, Franco, I mean, based on what we just went through, is there anything missing from what you were looking for specifically? Or do you think this would be the perfect fit for you?
I mean, it sounds really good. I guess for me, it's just, what does it cost, bro?
Cool. That's a great question. And we'll get to that in a moment if it's appropriate. But more important to me is understanding whether or not you feel like the process itself would actually even be the right thing for you. So are there any lingering questions about the process specifically, or does that feel good to you?
I'm sure I can think of some if given enough time, but I think you laid it out pretty good. So I feel good about it.
Okay, cool. Well, if you don't mind me asking, then, I mean, why do you think this would even be a good fit for you?
To be honest, I think it's I think it's the fact that you hit the nail on the head when you say like I'm just trying to piecemeal a bunch of different workouts from Instagram influencers and everything like that. I've bought so many courses and stuff like that, and sometimes I don't have the equipment, sometimes I don't have I don't know, just the things that I need, or the diet's missing, or and I feel like you've really compiled everything together. That's what it sounds like.
Cool. So you feel good about it?
Yeah, I do.
Awesome. So what just happened there is Franco actually did one of the scenarios that we were talking about. So when you ask this here, the beautiful thing is you are going to ask specifically, and they're bolded because this is where you put emphasis. Is there anything missing? No base question from what you were looking for specifically. Implanting, you've been looking for this. Now, specifically, is there anything missing from what you were looking for, right? Or do you feel, if it's a woman, because women tend to process their feeling, men tend to process through thinking.
Oh my gosh.
Or do you think this is the perfect fit for you, right? Anything missing? Nope. Sounds great. Perfect fit. They're agreeing to it. Or, well, what about this? If they ask about any of the deliverables, then you're going to answer it in the same way. Hey, great question. Is there any like one-on-one aspect to this? Because I kind of feel like, it all makes sense, but like group stuff, I don't necessarily do the best in. Hey, great question. Dude, I can totally appreciate how frustrating it is to get lost in a group. And while there's benefits to that for sure, with a supportive community, sometimes what you really just need is a confidant to listen to you and process things that are specific to you. So what we're going to do is meet once a week for 45 minutes, game plan, and ensure that you are fully on track every time. That way we spend no time in the gutters. Think about me as the bumpers to your bowling. As long as you show up, you're going to hit pins, which means week over week, we are compounding progress. As Warren Buffett says, it's one of the hidden wonders of the world, right? Compounding interest, compounding progress. That way we never take a step back. And 3 months from now, you'll be looking at a completely different Franco. How's that sound to you? Amazing. Cool. Now, any other questions about the process itself or feel like the perfect fit for you? Oh, sounds good. At that point, right, once we get to, nope, sounds good to me, then we'll say, cool. Well, if you don't mind me asking, why do you feel like this would be the perfect fit for you? The why do you feel like this is the right thing for you is key, because why causes them to argue in favor of what they just went through. We want the last thing on their mind before having a conversation about financial commitment is them hearing themselves say that this is the perfect fit for them. If I say it, you doubt it. If you say it, you own it. Right? So done right, this presentation is going to mitigate the majority of objections and position you perfectly to handle any concerns as they arise on the back end, because you've already tied down the process itself. This is so key. Don't miss this. If you have effectively tied down the process itself well, and they say perfect fit for me, and any concerns, objections, logistics questions come up, you are equipped to handle them because they are just limiting barriers to them moving forward with the offer that they already said that they want. So you can take a stand for them. If it's financial, cool. I know they want the offer, so I can work through that. If it's spouse or it's timing, I know they want the offer. So we're essentially, if you think about it, when we start the sale, there's all these pins up that could be potential problems. Every step of the way, we're knocking pins down, so that by the time we ever get to objection handling, there's not all these open loops that could sabotage the sale. There's one, maybe two, if anything. That way our objection handling process can be seamless. And the last thing before we move on to the last couple small components is oftentimes the thing that'll come up if you nail that presentation, like the only thing they'll ask is, wow, this all sounds great. What's the cost? At which point you'll just redirect the same way I did with Franco. Hey, great question. We'll get to that in a moment if it's appropriate. More important to me is understanding whether or not you actually feel like this process itself would be the right fit for you. So is there any lingering questions about the process specifically, or does that itself feel like the right fit for you? Sounds good. Cool. Well, if you don't mind me asking, why would this be the perfect fit for you though? Okay. As long as that's clear, we can move on. Pitch. I'm going to keep this one super simple. There's a video that goes through all the stuff that you need. Main points, be a control freak when it comes to collecting payment. Well, at this point, once they've said perfect fit for me, get payment on the phone. Do not present too many options and complicate logistics, and get some sort of payment live on the call, even if you don't collect to pay in full. The video goes deeper into it, but I know Franco's got something to say here too.
Well, that's exactly it. I'm just so glad that you said that. Right? Like I've been drilling it into everyone's heads for so long, because agency owners are notorious for, okay, awesome, that's great, let me send you an invoice. Freaking slap you, except for you women. But don't do that. Collect payment on the phone.
Every time, no matter what.
Always be closing, baby.
Always. Get some sort of commitment on the phone. Please do it. You will kick yourself so hard if you have, no, it sounds amazing, I love it, send me the invoice. You send it and you lose sleep because you're like, they still haven't paid it. Do I follow up with them? I don't want to feel needy. Oh my gosh, it's the morning time. They still haven't paid. What's going on?
And then I get a private DM and say like, hey man, I was on a sales call and stuff like that. I sent out an invoice and he didn't pay it. And you're like, what should I do? Should I hit him up? Should I hit him up? Should I hit him up?
Yeah.
Get payment on the phone.
I don't even know how many calls I've taken over the course of like 5 years of selling completely commission only full time and making a great amount of money doing so. Get the payment on the phone. And one of the easiest ways to do it, so this video goes through multiple scenarios of ways to make it really simple to do that. Okay. So that's why I'm not going to go through a full 10-minute video when I want to get to some hot seat. But the easiest thing is to just always have theoretical next steps. Okay. All right. So next steps are pretty simple. I'm going to go ahead and drop you the link to the invoice here. Go ahead and get that squared away while I set up your next steps here, so there's no lag time for you.
Let's go.
Even if there's no fucking next steps, it's all automated. Great. So the next steps, check your email. You've got everything you need.
We cannot curse here, huh?
Shit. I'm sorry. So just get the payment on the phone. Theoretical next steps are so effective. I'm not even kidding you. Go ahead and get that. Go ahead and grab your card while I get your next steps squared away for you here. If there's any reason, yeah, hit me.
Okay, so in that video, there's like 3 or 4 different things you can say, like a bonus or like maybe a discount. Do we just choose one and run with it, or do we go through like multiples on the thing with the prospect?
Yeah, whatever works best for you. I prefer bonuses rather than discounts. I don't want to discount someone's commitment to it, but I know it's a really standard thing that a lot of people do, and it can work. It totally can work.
But if we throw one out there and they say no, I mean, like, we don't want to just keep going different, because it makes us look desperate, right? If we keep on like throwing things out there trying to close them with like discounts and bonuses.
Right. So you don't want to like, you pick one and you go with it, because part of the presentation and the pitch is you're making one prescription. This is the thing to do, right? Keep it simple. There's not multiple pathways. Well, sounds like what we're doing here could really work for you. There's like 4 or 5 different options that you could choose from. No, it's one. Based on what you've shared with me, the best next step for you is this.
Gotcha.
And then, you can reward financial commitment, blah, 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 blah. Before you even consider throwing bonuses and all that stuff on there, just try it out. Just try the theoretical next steps. Oftentimes you don't need to make any concessions whatsoever, like a discount or a bonus. You could just have next steps. Next steps are super simple. Go ahead and grab your card and I'll get everything squared away here for you, so there's no lag time. Now, lastly, before we move into hot seat, objection handling. Now, I love that Will has gone through so many of the YouTube videos. I really recommend it if you're having any issues with the sales training stuff. There's great stuff there. And this is a longer video that goes through objection handling in detail. So I'm not going to like hammer this one home too much, because I'm conscious of the time and I want to get to the questions. We have a blown up chat. So I know there's probably a couple questions in there along with some brain blasts, but the framework is super simple. With objection handling, do not handle an objection head on until you have, or do we actually have a no swearing rule?
No.
Okay. Because the term I use is shit test. If you have not shit tested the objection, do not handle it head on, because you are going to grant it validity. Okay. If they say, no, this all sounds great, I just got to check my finances and if I've got enough money, it should be good to go. Be like, okay, cool. So, let's go. I mean, we can do a payment plan. We could do financing. There's funding options, a credit card. Don't go head on with it. It grants it validity. Instead, what we're going to do is deflect and diffuse, realign, expand, and ask for the sale again. I call this the objection matrix. I learned the basic like principles from listening to calls from like Jordan Belfort, Jeremy Minor, some of the top salespeople. They all do the same process from a framework perspective. They just say different things. So if you get the framework, doesn't matter what you say, it's going to work. That's the whole point. So we're going to deflect and diffuse with something like, hey, totally hear what you're saying, man. But let me ask you a question though. Objection aside, does the idea itself even make sense for you? I mean, do you like the idea? Right? That's deflecting and diffusing. Hey, totally hear you. Not a problem. That aside, does the idea itself make sense? Then we're going to realign. They say, well, yeah, it does. And they're going to say, yeah, it does, because we're only at this point if they have said why they feel like it's the right fit for them. That's why these things go in sequential order. The pieces work together. If you haven't tied down the process independent of price or concerns, this objection handling process, albeit bulletproof, is not necessarily going to work all that well for you, because the pieces need to work together. But if you've tied that down, they're always going to say, well, yeah, I do. So you're going to say, well, what do you like about it? Skeptical. Well, what do you like about it? Because this whole part here is to get them to then tell you what they really like about it. If you pay attention, they're going to tell you how to close them. So, well, I've really, I've been on a few calls with people, and like, it sounds like the level of support that you offer is just way more than anyone else. And that, it seems like really important to me, because I oftentimes fall off track. So support is what they care about. Now we're going to expand on what they care about. Makes sense. Forgive me, I kind of glossed over this, but the support aspect of this program is not just limited to the Facebook group itself. I mean, albeit great, dude, we're going to be here every step of the way, including a once a week one-on-one deep dive to ensure that you are always crystal clear on your next steps. And dude, listen, I guarantee as long as you show up, we are not going to let you fail. So let's do this. I mean, let's just get you plugged in so you can get the support you need right now to escape pain and create vision. And believe me, if you're even half as successful as the rest of the people we've worked with, dude, the only problem you're going to have is we didn't get started 6 months sooner. Does that sound fair enough? Oh, fair is a ninja word in the sales process. More on that later if we have questions about it, but just trust, it's highly effective. Now, the purpose here is to shit test objections. If it was a smoke screen, okay, which the majority of them are going to be, they're just covering up an uncertainty about you, the product, or the process. Okay. If you've done this right, a lot of times people are just going to buy at this point. But if they don't, they're going to come up with another objection. Okay. One of two things happen, or one of three things happens after you go through this process. They either say, you know what? You're right. I've been putting this off for too long. Let's just get it done before I change my mind. Cool. Go ahead and grab your card and I'll get your next step set up for you here. Right. So that's one. Two is they will have a different objection. It started off with, I don't know if I can afford it. And now they say, no, this all sounds great, but my wife would kill me. Now it's a spouse objection. Okay. If they objection hop, you start over again. Well, I appreciate the transparency, man. Now, let's just hypothetically say, you know, your wife wanted you to be able to take control of your health and your fitness and be able to get all these things. I mean, is that really something, though, that you feel would work for you? Yes. Okay, cool. Well, why do you feel like it would, though? And go back through. If spouse comes up again, so only if an objection comes up twice in a row after going through this process, it's a loop. We just keep looping, right? Then we can actually handle it head on. Got you. So objection aside, does this feel like the perfect fit for you? Yes. Okay. Tie down that objection as the only thing. So if that weren't a concern, if that were gone, like hypothetically, if I could make that disappear, is there anything else that would keep you from moving forward today? No, that's the only thing. Now we handle it head on. So for example, okay, well, in that case, I mean, are you open to having an honest conversation about your finances so that we could possibly find a win-win and still get you a solution to the problem that you're trying to solve? Then we can handle it head on and pull out the kitchen sink, but only after the same objections come up twice.